Hi, hello. How are you? Good afternoon. So, in the world and realm of we as beings traveling in this physical realm and spiritual entanglements and whatnot, there is something that is highlighted by quantum mechanics that is incredibly important to kind of dive into a little bit in nerdy understanding if it floats your boat. And it does feed into manifestation and what that actually whole bit of getting what you want in life means. It's not just how, but it's even deeper into the how. Because the why isn't really as much important. But the places that we kind of get stuck in for my nerdy people who would like a science kind of based thought in this is the idea of, in quantum mechanics, superposition. And I happened to just be watching the Stephen Colbert in his show he had on Neil deGrasse Tyson and William Shatner, who are teaming up to have discussions, traveling little show for a little bit, talking about human curiosity and why we go explore in all sorts of areas in our life, from science, medicine, to spiritual, to physical exploration, space exploration, and whatnot, and what kind of the mechanics behind that is. And there's something that Bill Shatner said, which is, how do we know if our decisions aren't made from superposition? Referring to the quantum physics idea of superposition. I'm going to read it so that I get it right for you guys, which means something can exist in multiple states or locations simultaneously. And what that really refers into all sorts of arenas, and especially entanglement, quantum entanglement. And that's the scientific term for there are multiple realities. So William, what Bill, as he prefers to be called, is referring to is, how do we know that the decision that we're making here and now is actually our decision and not another version of us's decision? And the answer to that is, it's all of our decision. Now, as you make decisions, new realities are stemming off of those decisions in infinity. And everything has its own space and its own place and whatnot. And sometimes a decision will wind back into and out of, a single timeline or a single lifeline. But there are some decisions that are completely changing in meeting people, in, work decisions, in life decisions. And all of that comes to a place where when we discuss being able to hop realities, it is a idea that before we had the scientific language of that, or at least scientific language that was even more out there. I'm sorry, I'm holding my iPad with my hand because it's sitting back on its thing. I don't have anything that can hold it up, so I'm sorry for the wiggle of the camera. But it allows for the possibility of us to jump into another reality. Because there are two things that are happening. Every known possibility is already known. Every possibility is already known. So anything that you may be presented with is not new and novel. The universe already knows of its potential, and the possibility has already been played out. Because time is linear. Time is a narrative that dictates certain dimensions. So there's, the 2 dimension, there's the 3 dimension, there's the 4th dimension. And what makes the 4th dimension different from the 3rd dimension is time, when something takes place. But we can make a decision. There can be things that are happening. And if you ever watch the movie Interstellar, that kind of dives into it a little bit, where you can move around and make decisions regardless of what time is. So if you want to jump into a time frame where you are wealthy, or where you are in this job and have this life, you experience the development of that by decisions and thoughts and dreams that come into place. How that really ties in, to be really, really clear, is if you have ever sat in your imagination and moments of fantasy and whatnot, and you've struggled to really kind of get a grip on whatever that experience was, then you are fuzzy about something. You're not able to latch into anything in particular. And then sometimes something happens that is part of what you really want, and you finally have a very solid image in your head of it, as though it feels more like a memory than it does anything else. Not like something you're trying to build out, but an actual foundational memory where you're like, I can walk through this particular building for the job that I want as though I've been doing that job for a while. I know where the bathrooms are. I know where the offices are. I know how it feels. I know how the light looks coming in through the window. I know how the view from the windows are over the city. I know every detail as though I've been there. Almost all the details. Some things are still a little fuzzy, but the most important things, the most foundational things that you pay the most attention to are in fact fully fleshed out. And it's as though you've been there before. You can do that with a house that you want. You could do that with an area that you want to travel to and explore. You can do that with a certain experience, as though, going in for an interview, or maybe the experience of becoming a parent with the person you want to become a parent with. So a relationship, a first date, multiple dates, a whole life. Some people have gotten incredibly sick, and in recovering and all that sleep, it feels as though they're in a completely different timeline, and they're happy, and they're living an entire life in that timeline, even though their body is recovering from an illness. And when they wake up, it shakes them because it's very confusing, and they can't correlate where they were in that dream space to where they are. And then days later, a week later, minutes later, at some point, they meet the person in the dream. And that timeline starts in this reality. And though in the dream they may have met in a different way or something else happened, the important part was the life that they wanted, the romantic family that they were producing, the partner that they were looking for. And sometimes we need those avenues to get us to touch on what we want. The quicker things come into your experience is when you believe that they can happen and you know that you deserve it. It's not just the possibility of it or the hope of it. When you have hope is lined with a little bit of doubt, because hope leans strongly on, oh gosh, that's the possibility I want, but it has an undercurrent of disbelief, which is why getting to a position of knowing, I know this is going to happen, is there. Something in your head dings either a certain figure in your brain on what's going to hit your account, or something being approved, or something being denied, something that you want, but you see just a piece of it and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's it. But you know it's going to happen. And sometimes, even though it's not the thing that's wanted, we also know when it's not going to happen. We have a sense that kind of underrides that image and conflicts with it, that the universe is trying to say, prepare you, and go, it's going to be a delay in this regard. So that's going to be a no, so that we can shift you onto where you actually want to get to. And that's the beauty of our experience here, is we don't know all of the entire specifics. You can want to let's do something really big that people struggle with. You can want to move to another country, and you can be denied on a consistent basis for a multitude of reasons. That place is a no, that you can't get in, you can't get there, you can come and visit, but you cannot stay, all that fun stuff. And then you hit something that switches gears where you want to do that big thing. And all of a sudden you start clicking in maybe a completely different country for a completely different job or a different person. Maybe you met somebody and you're getting involved in that whole avenue is a lot clearer because you're having those images of actually being there and seeing actual places, and you can feel it, you can smell it, you can touch it, you can taste it. And the feeling associated with it is like a lock-in of experience, a knowing. Like, this is right. This is mine. This is my experience. This is, yes. And the whole pathway to that seems a lot quicker than the time it was trying to get to the other place. You need to do another thing. People have a lot of issues around money, so let's talk about the lottery. And if you spend most of your time talking about the statistics of winning or the propensity of people, losing it, there's a reason for that. I might sneeze. Hold on. Ooh, excuse me. Confirmation sneeze. But the whole pathway to getting that is not about specifically a certain amount. It may be, I want to win the jackpot of a lottery, and then that's it. But trying to go, it's this next ticket, it's demand, trying to give a time frame, trying to give all of these other little things to the universe, the how of it coming across, including roughly how much it is a big part and parcel of what prevents people from being the winning ticket holder. You have to believe first and foremost that you have it. You have to start acting like you have it. And of course, in our mind, we go, but I can't spend what I would spend. I can't pay bills. I can't do all of these other things if the money isn't in the account. But here's the thing about lotteries, at least in the United States, is that when you go to claim the lottery, there is a time frame, particularly if it's a big amount, where whether it's a few days of a cool down period, whether it takes a few weeks, but mostly it takes weeks. Mostly it's like 6 to 8 weeks in the United States to get those funds actually deposited, however you claim it. They don't give you a check to tide you over until then. It just drops in. Unless it's a certain amount that's a lower amount, then you might get a check right there, then and there. But the thing is that I've got one here, is that it's in knowing that it is a winner, that it is the jackpot winning ticket. And in understanding that, you sign the back, and you then have 6 to 8 weeks or more, depending on how long it takes you to go and claim it, of waiting for that money to actually hit your bank account. So between now and then, can you spend any of it? Only in here. But what you do have is the knowledge, the knowing you've got it. It's in your hand, it's signed for, it's claimed. And I've recently been signed in the back of my tickets. But it's claimed, and it's you already have it. It's just the time frame for it to get physically into the bank account. That's the same thing. It's the same thing. So if you already have it, there's no point in worrying for it. It's like knowing that a check is coming, but they give you a time frame of it will arrive in the mail in 2 to 3 weeks, or 2 to 4 weeks, or 2 to 6 weeks, or whatever. There's a time frame, and so what you do in knowing that it's here and knowing that it's coming is you keep checking your damn mailbox. Like, maybe it's today, maybe it's today, maybe it's today. And they're like, it's a time frame. So you know it's coming. You're happy that it's coming. You're already spending it in your head. But it's the knowing. You're not anxious that it's not going to get to you, although sometimes that does happen. You're just anxious for it to actually be available to do the next part. And the important component is being in that arena of knowing. And some people, they don't even think about signing, or they don't think about, sometimes it's they're at the office and they're turning it in. Sometimes it's a bunch of photographs being taken of them and they're holding, the big number check, the check with the numbers on it, or they're matching the numbers. For me personally, I have difficulty matching numbers, mostly because of the way I play the game. I don't look and match the numbers. I just scan it with my thing. So in my head, I'm looking at the congratulations message, because regardless of what the amount is, you get the same message. And so specific to my state, I'm looking at that congratulation message, and maybe there's an amount in there. And because honestly, at a high end, I don't know what exactly it looks like under a jackpot, and they don't really tell you online, to be honest, what that actually looks like. But that is one of the things where in understanding two things, it's not the specific amount that's important. It is the feeling of life when it's available. So what you're looking for, and what the superposition is really important of, when you start being able to really get a sense of reality in a dream, in a fantasy, and it feels so much more like a memory, and that softness of memory that we have, that feels a lot more real than sometimes your silly fantasies. It is where you are pulling in from the reality of you actually having it. I can't know the details of all, like a vehicle that I might drive, or or that I want, without finding a way to visualize it. So if there's a certain vehicle that you want, or a certain house that you want, without even stepping foot in it, there are ways to be able to be in that house. And really the only way to be in it at such a high level of detail is not just through the context of pictures, but if it's actually a reality for you. If you've actually been in and around that house at some other place in time. So if you are here now, in the place that you're not necessarily the biggest fan of, because you want the next biggest, better thing, then how to get there isn't by forcing and pushing and looking around your current space and going, How often have you been in a space you're not a fan of, but you've gotten another place that's a better place, that's something you're delighted for, like getting into a new apartment or into a new rental, or you've bought a house. There is a space of time when you're not occupying that space yet, and you're not really looking around here. You're just so happy for what is in the next space. You're happy for, a yard, or a bigger yard, or a fence that you don't have to worry about, a well laid out space that, and you walked in and immediately felt like home, like you had been there forever. But there's a span of time between still being in the old space before you get into the new space. But you're spending more mental time in the new space, and your feelings about this space don't matter, because your feelings are all about your emotional state. Your energy level is all about the new place. You are excited. You are at moments hyped. You are sitting really, really neutral, maybe sitting down watching the boob tube, but you're imagining perfect place, roughly, of where you're going to put the couch, even if it moves, even if it's not the final space, but the perfect space of watching TV in the living room in the new place, and how that feels for you, how that couch feels for you. Maybe you have come into a new job, and you've been working the new job, and you now have money to get rid of the old crap so you can put something new in there, and you're imagining the feeling of that new couch. You imagine how that is, how your body sinks into it, how the back supports you, how comfortable it is that you have to be careful because you wind up falling asleep on that damn thing. And naps have never been more glorious. But it is the place where you're going to cuddle your romantic partner. It is the place where you're going to fall asleep with a kid on your chest. You know, the house is the house that's going to do that. There's rooms for you to expand and grow, for you to have an office space. All of these things happen from the energy matching it. You've already asked for it. Anything that you desire and that you picture desiring, any desires that come in, is because you have already experienced it in another timeline. Otherwise, you have no experience with that desire, so the desire doesn't hit your perception. You don't get a sense of it. Reason why you want to be in a new place from the old place is because, one, you know that it's possible to go to someplace better, and two, there is something about where you're at now that doesn't satisfy, and so you look for a new place. And in that, that desire goes out there, and there's a person of you in a timeline in a new and better place. Even if it's just the next place, even if you over consistently multiple different places, it doesn't matter which necessarily place it is, but it does matter how that marries up to the choices as you go along. You're just switching tracks. You're switching into different places and spaces. And as you make decisions that get you into that timeline or get you into another timeline. So what your perception is condensed into the current timeline. And it's the shifting into another timeline. And what sits in superposition, we always think of a single thing with a bunch of lines, of a single ultimate superior experience, because we don't necessarily understand how we can be split into so many different timelines, so many different experiences. Well, that's how we are cognizant and beings anyways. That's how we are spiritually, is we're offshoots of the universal understanding, of the universal energy that has gone out to grow and continue to grow and have experiences through different types of existence. As a rock, as a type of rock, as a molten rock, as a diamond, as a physical animal that understands what is happening, as a more advanced animal, like the human beings that understands whatever aliens are running around out there. This is all part and parcel of that ability to experience. And this timeline for this body ends at a certain point. And when that end occurs depends on which one you're latched into, what decisions that you make. You just shift from reality to reality. It doesn't feel like it, largely because we don't have a greater understanding, or a deeper, I should say, an expanded but deeper understanding of what it feels like, except we can get a sensation of it. When you switch into, you feel that switch where what you really are focused on wanting is actually coming in because you're lining up with it. And that switch it is uncanny. And sometimes you don't see it until after events have happened that propel you into that shifted place. And then you're like, oh shit, okay. Oh, that, and that led to that, which led to this, which led to that, which went into there. And that's how we got here. And holy fucking shit. It's magic. And it's science. So, scientific fact mixed with the awareness of it. And we can't force it, we can't push it, because the more we push on stuff, the more we focus on it not actually happening or being here yet. It just gets incredibly stuck. It's I'm trying to shift this to we can slow things down where we linger in a space in the same time frame for a long time, staying in a job that we don't like, staying in a place that we don't like, because we can't see our way out of there. We get scared in trying to trust that we will get out of there, that we will shift, that it will get better. And sometimes opportunities have to bypass us when that's kind of where we're at. And when that is the case, learning how to calm down and just for a while going from that kind of depressed, lax state where that's where you're focused on is all the bullshit. When you let go of the bullshit and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna go chill out my brain. And you chill your brain out and you just be cool and you be neutral. And stuff happens and it's the same old stuff. That is why you don't want to be here. But instead of participating in it, you choose not to. You're making a choice to help yourself rise and elevate. You're making a choice not to stay in the same habits of there. And people are like, you just disappeared. Because a lot of times you will stop participating in the bullshit and for them you've disappeared. And then when you reappear, you're in a completely different space and timeline. Things are improved, things are doing well. But in order for you to shift, there are some things you got to stop participating in. And there are things that you have to allow your brain to connect to. That is incredibly important. And yeah, sometimes we can stuck on the linear time frame of it, but really the magic of it dropping in, you realize how quick that actually is when you let the magic happen. I hope it helps. I thought it was an interesting thing. Wanted to try and be better about putting more content out and more deliberate on waiting for good things to necessarily talk about. So I hope this is helpful for all you guys. Yeah, it is a rainy Tuesday, and here in June, and I hope you guys are having a really good summer, and we will see you soon.